left off with Charlie was a teenager. He was 17, and his mother passed away. And he always kind of wanted some freedom, he thought. He thought maybe his parents were a little strict. And so he wondered, now that his mom was gone, what it would be like to strike out on his own. And so he's going to try something. So we'll find out how it works. Charlie could not believe that he and his friend William had come to Cat Island, Arkansas. For 2 years, he had wandered from place to place, and he could not believe he had ended up in Cat Island, of all places. I've never heard of that place. Is anybody else? I was going to look it up, but I didn't. People in Tennessee had warned the young men, "Don't you ever go to Cat Island," they said. "You'll never get free of that place. Those plantation owners will murder you if you try to leave." Charlie shivered when he thought about the stories of how some workers were hunted down with dogs. Finally, he shrugged his shoulders and tried to put the worries out of his head. He and William were here, and they might as well make the best of it. Before long, they had a job picking cotton on a plantation. Charlie was used to hard work. After his mother had married Barry Latimer, Charlie had to quit school to help his new stepdad in the garden. Barry was a kind man, and Charlie liked him. He just wished that he could stay in school. He had only been able to go to school a couple more months over the years. Charlie had always been sickly and weak, and it was hard to work out in the hot sun. Sweat would pour down his face as he would hoe the weeds, and at times he felt lightheaded and sick as he bent over all day working with the plants. But Charlie had learned to work, and he had stayed out of trouble. His parents had made sure of that. "Hey, Red, are you going to come over to Stepney's house tonight?" Charlie's mind was jolted back to the cotton field and the man standing in front of him. His name was Joe Gardner, and like most of the other men around, he spent his days picking cotton and his evenings gambling. The men would gather around the table at Stepney's house and play dice and cards for hours. The light from the old oil lamp would cast a yellow glow around the room as each man waited to find out if it was his lucky night. Some of the time, things would be quiet, but every once in a while, one of the men would lose, and aided by the whiskey brought in from the boats, things would get violent. I don't know, Joe," Charlie said. He felt like he was stuttering around. How could he explain that his parents had raised him in church? He was almost 19, and he had never drunk a drop of whiskey or spent one night sitting around a table, gambling away his money. "Oh, come on, Red. You'll have fun. We all work hard, and we need a break from all this," Joe said enthusiastic as he walked away. As soon as Joe was gone, William turned to his friend and said, "Charlie, you should be careful if you go to Step's house. You know that a lot of what they do is wrong. You and I were raised right, and we don't need to get mixed up in the evil around here." But as the days went by, Charlie found himself spending more and more time at the brick house that used to belong to the overseer. Stepney and his wife lived in one part of the house. A man named Ivory lived in the other half of the house. Finally, Charlie became just like everyone else, a cursing, gambling mess. It did not even seem to change him when tragedy struck. One Saturday night, Stepney burst through the door. "Charlie, come help me!" Stepney yelled. His eyes were full of terror, and he was breathing and gasped. "Come, quick!" Stepney ran across the grass with Charlie close behind. When Stepney rushed to a man slung over the rain barrel, Charlie stopped abruptly. It looked like the man was dead. He had a head wound, and blood was all over. "Charlie, help me get him into the house. Maybe we can help him," Stepney ordered. They carried the man into Stepney's house, and they tried to help the man, but realized that there was little they could do for him. Earlier that night, the man seemed to be having all the luck. He won big, winning a pile of money and even old man Ivory's horse pistol. Later, when he and old Ivory were alone, he had tried to collect the pistol, but Ivory was mad. With all his strength, old Ivory brought the gun down, smashing the man's head. As blood poured everywhere, old Ivory stole everything from the man's pockets and then hauled the man out of the house and threw him into the yard. Despite Stepney's help, by Monday morning, the man was dead. Even this death and the evil in this life of gambling and greed did not change Charlie. William was disgusted with him. He tried to talk to Charlie as they were out picking cotton. "Charlie," William pleaded, "I can't believe how far you've fallen. Your mama raised you better than this. If she were alive to see the depths you fall into, she would not believe it. Nobody in Georgia would believe it. You're just a blaspheming gambler. You're acting like a wild man." Charlie bristled. "Leave me alone, William. Your daddy may be a preacher, but you are not. Just leave me alone. You think you can just preach at me because you say you have religion. You're no better than I am. You hang around all the gamblers. If there is any religion for me, I'll get it. If there is none, I won't. If I'm born for heaven, I'll go to heaven. If I'm born for hell, I'll go to hell. Let me alone." "Charlie," William pleaded, "I don't like to hear you talk like that. I'm going to pray for you." Charlie shook his head haughtily and snapped, Pray if you want to. If you don't, let it alone." William sighed helplessly and did not say another word. Charlie strutted down the cotton row, feeling proud of himself. He felt like he had won the argument. 2 days later, as the workers were picking cotton in the fields, one of the men yelled out, "It's too hot to be picking cotton today." "Yeah," another worker, Black Molly, said, "and the cotton is thin. There's not much to pick here anyway. Why don't we all go muscadine hunting?" That's a southern grape. Christiane and Matthew have them in their backyard. Before long, all the workers decided to take the rest of the day off and have fun. "Are you coming, Red?" one of them asked Charlie. Sweat was pouring down Charlie's face, but he said, "No, I am cleaned out broke. I need to pick all I can today." Charlie bent his aching back over, trying to fill his cotton sack. The voices of the workers talking and laughing got quieter as they walked off into the woods. Charlie was now aware that he was alone. He began to think of his life and how he was living. Suddenly, in a flash, it was as if his eyes were open. He was lost, without God. The bright sun still beat down in his back, but Charlie was not aware of it anymore. He had to go pray. He picked up his cotton sack and hurried to his cabin. Charlie fell to one knee and buried his head in his bedding. He prayed for forgiveness for everything that he had done wrong. All at once, he felt his load was gone. God had forgiven his sins. He got up a different young man. The proud, angry attitude was gone. Before long, all the workers returned from their day of fun. Charlie rushed up to William and told him, "William, I believe the Lord has done for me what you said you were going to pray for him to do." William took a step back in surprise. He had been praying for Charlie, but now he did not know what to say. He pasted on a sickly grin and said, "Charlie, I hope he has." "Oh, Charlie, have you straightened them ways? Are you changing your life?" asked Stepney. The guys began to laugh. Charlie felt his face grow hot as the men slapped him on the back and made fun of him. And that's where we're going to end tonight.